so excited. That just automatically changed my whole energy. Oh, my little heart is beating. Look at this. My first Tipsy Tuesday live of the year. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. First and foremost, happy Founders Day. The better way to spend it.
Happy Founders Day. Happy Founders Day.
You are truly representing. You look great.
I am with my Delta on today.
Lean back a little more so they can see it. So they fully, there we go. Oof, man, that is gorgeous. Oh,
Thank
I
you.
I got my elephant.
I see you. We got to represent today for the 22. Okay. 113 years. Okay.
So if people don't know, now they know. You are my soror. Not just my soror, but my line sister. I was like, do I share that? Or is that like, it's like, is that professional to share that? Or I don't know.
Oh, please. Why not? I mean, the thing is, we can have multiple relationships in different kind of ways, but when it comes down to business, we're going to make it happen. And when it comes down to educated people, we're going to share the knowledge that we have. So let's do it.
Okay. Well, there we go. That sounds like a perfect transition. So we are gathered today to have an amazing conversation. So let me just start with, for those who may be new to Tipsy Tuesdays, because primarily this is a platform that sits on Instagram. I had someone say to me the other day, they said, Tipsy Tuesday, it's the middle of the day. What's happening there? And I said, no, it's not that kind of tipsy. So I always like to start with Tipsy Tuesday is a series I launched last year, really to respond to a lot of different questions, inquiries, outreach that I would receive from people with regards to professional development, leadership development, organizational management questions. And I'm like, well, if they have questions and I have questions and I have some answers and I have some resources, let me bring it to the people. So this is about strategic tips to help you level up, to help you show up and be your best self. And so I want to say, first and foremost, thank you to every single person who's going to be joining. But more importantly, thank you to you, Dr. LaNail Plummer, for giving us your time today. This is essentially kicking off what I am calling our Supported to Succeed series. So I like to group these monthly, where kind of each theme correlates and kind of connects to one another. And so this month is all about systems, network, structure that we need to have in place in order to be successful. And I put that in air quotes because that looks different for everyone. And we do speak to both individuals as they're kind of moving along their personal journey, speaking to professionals as they're moving along their professional journey, and then obviously leaders within organizations, because they need to also think about how they're supporting their teams to achieve all these different types of outcomes. So that is setting the stage. I am hoping today people walk away feeling very clear, they feel empowered, they feel encouraged, and more importantly, they feel connected, not thinking that they are the only ones struggling with these things, but that we are also serving as resources to them post live to continue them on their journey. All right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love to let folks talk about themselves. One, I'm doing too much. And who can talk better about themselves than you, right? That's part of our confidence piece is how do we articulate and share to the world who we are? So with that, Dr. Plummer, and this will be the last time I'm going to call you Dr. Plummer on the show because I'm going to call you LaNail.
Let's do it.
I have permission to do so.
To call me LaNail or to call me La? Either one. Do it. Whichever way.
Dr. Plummer, tell us about you and who you are and why are you here today?
I love it. I love how you introduced it, right? Who is better to introduce us than ourselves? And as we get into the conversation, we'll talk about why there are people who don't feel comfortable introducing themselves, right? And what systems have been in place, what socializations have been in place that prevent them from feeling comfortable and confident in introducing who they are. That hasn't necessarily been my challenge in life. My parents always told me that I was a bold soul. So here I am. I am Dr. LaNail R. Plummer. I am the CEO of Onyx Therapy Group, which is an international mental health company. We have offices in DC, Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Louisiana, and Johannesburg, South Africa. I am also the department chair of counseling at Trinity Washington University, which is a small Catholic university here in Washington, D.C. And I absolutely adore my students and the faculty that I get to work with. And if that's not enough, I am also the author of The Essential Guide for Counseling Black Women, which is my first book of 3 that is specific on mental health and how we navigate mental health in different places and circumstances and with different people. So I love that we're going to have this conversation today, because although the book comes out in just a couple of weeks, 2 weeks to be exact, my next book that I'm working on is specifically around leadership and working with diverse staff and supervisors. So super excited about that. In addition to all the work, I am from Los Angeles, California. So I hail from sunny Cal. I'm a West Coast gal, but I've been on the East Coast for more years than I need to say right now in public. Okay.
You're also a vet.
I'm a military veteran. Hooah. Shout out to our Army vets, all military folks, but I am an Army vet, and I served 8 years in the United States Army as an officer. And I'm also a military dependent. My dad served 26 years as an enlisted soldier in the United States Army as well. So we do have lots of dedication and commitment to this country, with all the highs and some of the lows, right? Like we're here and we've defended this country, and we want to keep making sure that those of us that are here are feeling good and feeling safe and able to do the things that we do to feel success in all the ways that we define it, similar to what you said. And if it wasn't clear before, I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I'm a mom, I'm a wife. I am a spiritual person, and I am a leader, and excited to talk about our topic today.
You are definitely a leader. What a background. So there's so many different angles that you are bringing to this conversation. And, as I was thinking about you, I'm like, okay, she's so intelligent. Degrees, she's a professor. She's an author. She's an entrepreneur. You've been a vet. So there's all these different environments that you've had to be in where confidence has to play a part, right? And how you show up.
Yeah.
You have to consistently be confident as you're going out here chasing business development opportunities.
Yeah.
You definitely have to be confident and commanding as you're standing in front of these classrooms, bringing this level of confidence to a table when you're having conversations with your clients, be it organizations that you're working with, or even if you're going through and you're counseling and providing therapeutic services to individuals. So I want to just start with you. What does confidence actually look like and mean to you? And why is it important as we're going through our personal and professional journeys?
I love how you broke all of that down, Eris. When I live my life, my day-to-day life, I don't think about all of the details there. I just am. And so I don't break it down as much. But the way that you framed it made me think about my journey, my professional journey over the last 20 odd years. One of the things I want to highlight is that confidence is an emotion. It's not a state of being. And I think sometimes people misunderstand that. So a person could be confident in one area of their life and feel insecure in another area of their life. And that's normal. And I mentioned feel confident because feelings combined with an emotion only last 96 seconds. So I can be doing a presentation and I feel really confident. I am prepared. I have done all my work. I've done my research. I've practiced. I've done all the things. And then a question comes that I was not prepared for. And all of a sudden I feel like, oh my God, what the heck, right? And so that's when maybe some intrusive thoughts may come in, like you're not worthy, you don't belong here, you shouldn't have been doing this in the first place, right? But those thoughts are also coupled by a feeling, which is insecurity. And so now there's a battle between the two feelings. There's a battle between confidence and there's a battle between insecurity. I would go nerdy with you, but I don't want to get too much today. But the way that our brains are set up, that feeling is in one section of our brain closely connected to another section of our brain that has memory and learning. So when when we are building confidence as a feeling, it's connected to competence.
Yes.
So the more that we do something and the more we get positive reinforcement from it, the more we understand that we're doing it correctly and that there will be success from it, then the more we feel confident. What that means from a community perspective is when you are trying to build confidence, you need to surround yourself by people who are willing to invest in you. Right. And that investment means that they're willing to encourage you. They're willing to push you. They're willing to say, yes, you did that right. They're willing to say, do some more of that. They're willing to uplift you and support you. And so confidence is not built in a silo. Confidence is built in a community because you need the reinforcement, and confidence is an emotion. So what's really important, what's probably more important than confidence, is our opportunity to build competence and then to get reinforced in that competence. And that's kind of like what school is for, right? Like by the time you graduate college, you are confident that you are a student because you've been a student for a long time, right? Like you've built competence around it. For some of our new professionals, they may not necessarily feel confident in their work, or they look confident and sometimes it's a little cockiness, right? So confident is authentic and cockiness is a mask. And confidence is built over time as our competence is built over time. So for me, I think it just started young. I was a little kid and my great grandfather was a preacher. And so they would have me standing in front of the church and read a scripture or sing a song. And Aries, I can't sing for anything. I can't. And the people, instead of saying, baby, you sing, they would just be like, look at you with your cute little shoes. You know what I'm saying? But I got comfortable being in front of people, and I got comfortable making mistakes in front of people. I got comfortable being human in front of people. I got comfortable imperfect in front of people. And I also knew the other things that I needed to do to continue to build my competence, like be prepared and do my research and understand what's going on. And to not just walk in a room as if I know everything, because I don't. And so that's what helped me become more confident as a leader. Last thing I remember, being a young soldier, 22 years old. I entered the military at 21, almost 22 years old. And I was an officer and we were at war. I entered in 2002. So 9/11 had just happened. And so I was in front of a company of soldiers at 22 years old, and was just like authentic. Listen, y'all, I'm 22. I know I know military history. I know military strategy. I know people, interpersonal skills, but there's a whole lot that I don't know. And for us to be successful, I need you all to tell me what I don't know, right? And I need you to build me up. And although I'm the leader, I need to learn from you. And that kind of approach let people invest in me and reinforce me. And that helped build up my competence as a soldier and eventually as a veteran and a leader in other areas.
There was so much there. And I know some people are like, why are they talking about confidence? So I want to step back just a little bit more as to what even led me to this conversation and why I think it's so important. And I hope it further connects the dots. And if folks were listening to what you said, there was as much emphasis on the personal element of this as much as the structural element of it, as well as like the cultural and environmental elements. And I'm gonna bring it together. And so, I have been, in full transparency, having some very heavy days over the last several months. Because a lot of the work that I do day in and day out is centered around social responsibility. It is centered around trying to work with organizations and leaders, elected officials, in how we advance more opportunities for more people, right? DEI, the dirty word. And within that, there was a big push and focus on making sure that women of color, and beyond had opportunities to do things professionally and from a business standpoint that they traditionally just did not have.
Yeah.
And so much of that has been chipped away. And so what we've seen now, right? I think the numbers are over 6% of Black women who are in the labor force are now unemployed. And I like to say at this point, chronically unemployed, meaning it's been 6 months, 12 months, or longer.
Yeah.
And
there's one thing, we say that is 6%, and that sounds really low. But if we,
well, 600,000, right.
If we put it into quantifiable numbers, that's coming in at over 320,000 Black women. 320,000.
That was in April. I saw it was up to 600. But in point, in comparison to the national standard or average, is now around 4%, right? So we are definitely exceeding that. And so where I'm going with that is a lot of the positions that we were in were eliminated. And this has not just impacted Black women, but those positions have been eliminated. There's been a lot of reorging. And for many of us, we're at a certain level and season within our professional careers. So just kind of bear with me a bit, y'all. And what's happened is that people are finding a lot of challenges with landing the next or figuring out what's next. They're not getting callbacks. On my last LinkedIn Live, we talked about that. Like, people are being ghosted. They are not receiving opportunities for even an interview. These networks that they thought they had, this career that they thought they spent all this time building, is not warranting the kind of return that they had expected. And what I'm seeing, confidence is being chipped away. People are starting to like, well, do I have it? Do I not have it? What am I supposed to do now? Businesses are losing opportunities. Confidence is starting to be chipped away. People set these goals, 2026, I'm gonna do this. And already confidence is being chipped away because maybe they want to go to the gym, whatever it is. And so the reason I really wanted to have this conversation is because I see confidence as part of a performance imperative, a business, like it's something that we cannot allow to be a deterrent from the things that we want to achieve in life. And so the more that we can have that clarity, the more that we can have opportunities to practice our and build up those skills of not just the technical skills and the practical skills, but even the skill of being confident. I love what you said, is that you were given opportunity to make mistakes and be in front of people. And we live in a society where, doggone it, you make one little mistake and you're canceled, right? And so and it only applies sometimes to certain folks.
Yeah.
Luxury of making multiple mistakes. I think you're encouraged to fail fast, fail frequently, learn from it, grow from it, go from it, right? And so that is why I really want us to be thinking about this conversation, y'all, not just like, oh, they're talking about confidence in like this soft way. It's something deep. And even as I think about my Tipsy Tuesdays, it's crazy. I look back and I'm like, oh my God, I've been talking about this to myself for 5 years.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't know if I had the confidence to step out here and put myself out here in this way. And so that's why, so much of what you were saying was just so like hitting me personally. Maybe this is a conversation for me. Because I got big things I'm trying to do, and I need to have confidence to continue to make that happen. Right?
Aries, when I've been writing this book, I was writing it for
I want to talk about, I'm sorry not to cut you, but your book says it's the essential guide for counseling Black women. And I think about this, and it's like part of that guidance, part of that core, it's like that confidence piece, right? So it's like, I want to hear about the book and why you wrote the book and who is the book for.
I'm gonna do all of that. I can do all of that. I'm confident I can bring it all together. Okay. So when I was when I was writing the book, when I got the offer to write the book, because my life has been designed in a particular way where I am a magnet of opportunity, right? I sit in gratitude and alignment, and so opportunity tends to come my way. And so when I got the opportunity to write the book, the offer to write the book, I initially was like, oh yeah, I got this. You know, I write articles for Forbes and for Essence and for Times, and I do the things, right? Like I could do this. I got a blog, I could do this. And as I started to write, I think it was maybe my first round of edits, I was like, oh my God, am I actually a good writer? Like I have every single line had an editorial comment, right? Like every single concept, not every single concept, but many of the concepts needed to be reworked in certain ways. And I started to doubt. So that chip away that you're talking about, I started to doubt because what I thought that I was confident in a universal way as a writer, but I was skilled as a writer for articles, not a writer for books. And that's and I think sometimes that's what confuses people because we become confident because of our competence in one area and we try to transfer that to all other areas. And it's not the same. Remember, confidence is based off of competence. So you have to do something a number of times and get the reinforcement so that you build up the emotion of confidence. And so moments where some things can be transferable, there's some moments that you can't. So now here I am in my 40s and I've had this wonderful career and then felt a lack of confidence in one particular area of my life. So what did I do? I had to practice some more. I had to send it to some other people in my village and say, what do you think about this? I had to get some encouragement. I had to be vulnerable, Eris, because I had to expose where my insecurity was. And once I exposed that insecurity on my terms, then I was also open to being reinforced in other ways, right? And I think, you know, a lot of folks come into spaces and they're actually cocky and not confident. And that's how they get shot down real quick. Like that's how their emotions get shot down. That's how they start to feel increasingly insecure. And also forgetting that while we're on the journey of building our confidence, because it's a process through competence, as we're on this journey, there's lots of other little lessons that we can be learning too. So when I lean in on my village and say, tell me about this paragraph, I'm also increasing my skill set in trust. I'm also increasing my skill set in vulnerability.
Vulnerability, yes.
My skill set in that uncomfortable, kind of feeling, right? I'm also increasing my skill set around timing and time management. When did I send this to them? When do I need it back? What are the things that I actually need? Like there's lots of little things that are built along the way. So we have this vision of a skill that we want for our confidence to be improved. But if we pay attention, if we slow down and pay attention, we could see all the lessons along the way. As you were talking a few minutes ago, I started to think that in order for me to be confident in certain areas of my life, I have to sit in quiet. And you know, you and I are different in some ways. You are more introverted than I am. Nobody believes you except for me. But you are more introverted than I am. You like your quiet and your alone time. I'm extroverted. I'm outside all the time. I'm doing all the things. But I have found that my most success comes in quiet. When I'm able to just sit and think. And I don't rush through decisions. I don't rush through experiences. I am authentic in my space with myself. I am true to myself. And I go deep as opposed to giving myself these shallow answers, right?
That's right.
So those are things that are important as I have built up my confidence as a professional. And I imagine that I will get many more opportunities in the next 30, 40 years where I will be confident in all these other areas of my life. And then I'll be insecure as I embark on a new venture or a new experience. And for our ladies who are women right now who are in these fluxes between jobs, they're feeling insecure because they haven't been without a job, right?
Yes, that's
And
right.
That's what it is. It's not that you can't get a job, is that you don't know how to be without a job because you probably graduated from school and immediately started working, and that's all you know. So you are confident in who you are as a worker and not confident in who you are as a non-worker. You're going to get back to working. You absolutely are. But there are also experiences and things in this, let's call it a hiatus of work, that you can be learning and that you could be practicing and being in touch with yourself. Yeah. Okay.
I love the comments that are popping up. I was going to say, so thank y'all. Keep sharing those comments. And before you transit, I mean, again, I actually have so many notes on. I'm running out of. Like, geez, okay. Were you? Okay, I'm gonna let you finish what you're about to say. I feel like
no, tell me, what were you gonna say? I could come back to it. I won't forget.
I would love folks to share where they feel confident right now in life, because you have said this a couple times about feeling confident in one area, but also feeling insecure, which to me are similar but different in other areas. And I have certainly felt very confident, even when I've had moments of insecurity or questioning my path as a professional and a leader. I know how to work. I know how to land jobs and build my career and advance and level up.
Yeah.
Where I struggle, with confidence, even as much as people see me externally and showing up, it's hard for me to put myself out here for a lot of different. I think it has a lot to do with how I was raised. I think it has a lot to do with the generation that I'm from. And right now, there is such an emphasis for being, social media is changing so much of everything. You can't even get a job without being social, right? Like you building that, like, so it's very weird for me to push myself and feel authentic in that way, but knowing that I'm not doing it from a space of like cockiness or ego or attention, but it's like I gotta do it because if I want to be able to bring this to folks and the support, that's something that's new and different for me. And so I imagine that many of us have things that we are trying to build confidence in that is new from what we've traditionally done. And I love that. It's like you've always had a job, you've had a career, you've been stable, you know what that looks like, even in a unhealthy environment. But being out here having to figure it out in a different kind of way is chipping away at you, but it technically should not be. It should be preparing you.
Yeah, it should be preparing you because it's likely another chapter you're about to enter. And so you need to be in this space right now so that you can purify any toxicity that you have from your other jobs and environment, so you don't go into your new environment toxic, right? Because if you are pure but you are in a toxic environment, the toxicity gets on you. You don't get to just run away from it, right? Like you are in the middle of it. So there's opportunities to purify. But then some of us have taken on jobs, especially in our generation areas, have taken on jobs and careers that we just really didn't like. And we're miserable, right? Like we're just not well, like we're just like, I hate this job. I hate being around certain kind of people and personalities. I don't feel purposeful or I don't feel aligned. And then we lose the job and we're like, oh my God, I got to go back to that. And it's like, no. Like, and I understand that a lot of us need jobs because we need to survive. We need money, right? It's a capitalistic society. So I'm not saying that I don't understand that, but I also think that there's an opportunity to learn more about ourselves when we are without also. Yeah. Like, who are we when we are without? You said something a second ago that sparked an additional interest for me. Ego, being bold and telling the world who you are is not ego, right? But that's how we've been socialized, Eris. We as Gen Xers, we as women, we as Black folks, we as anybody who has ever been in any margin for any sort of identity have been told that if we tell people the good things about who we are, then we are egocentric. And that is the case, right? Like you get to tell the world how amazing and how great you are. And I'm speaking to you, Aries, but I'm speaking to everybody else here who is listening. Like you get to tell the world how amazing you are. Like that is nothing to be ashamed about or to pull back from. And understand that any feeling that you have that you may be doing the most because you're telling people is a narrative of oppression that somebody has placed on you. Because if they could make you think you are less, then you don't become a threat to who they are. But if you stand true in who you are, then other people feel a little insecure. And you have to contend with that. But that doesn't mean to silence ourselves in order to make somebody else feel good. And to the point that you were making, Aries, some of it is just practice. You know, like we weren't in school, and everybody a second ago you said introduce yourself, because who can introduce you better than you? Well, I have a little bit of practice with that. But some of us didn't have practice with that. People were just, in fact, people just introduced you. This is Aries Scales, all right? And this is Robin whomever, and this is whomever over here. And so we never got the opportunity. So it is good to find ourselves in positions and situations where we get to tell people who we are, even if that means that we're doing it with our homegirls. If we do a Tuesday in the evening times with just our friends, and we're like, okay, now you're practicing your personal elevator speech. Now you're practicing telling people about your history. Like remember that confidence is all about competence. It's all about the practice, and it's all about the reinforcement. And it's also equally important to surround yourself with people who want to encourage you. And that doesn't necessarily mean all of your coworkers. It may mean your friends. It may mean, your neighbors. It may mean your sorority sisters. It may mean your family. It means putting yourself intentionally in spaces with people who want to see you succeed. And that's intentional.
So when you talk about putting yourself in spaces with people who want to see you succeed, and we talked a bit about making that transition from maybe where you were within one organization to going into this next organization. I love that piece around sitting in quiet. Tipsy Tuesday, this is my baby. But when I'm not doing Tipsy Tuesday, I have another role that is a really, commanding, demanding role in one of the most influential industries in the world. And before I made that transition, I sat and worked with an amazing woman, Andrea Holyfield, for like a year. Defining it, chipping away at what I was used to, being challenged to think bigger, bolder, differently. And there were opportunities that were coming up along the way, but because I had visualized, committed to, and decided what that next was going to be, I was able to make that transition into something that actually almost felt very foreign to me. Well, it did. It felt foreign to me because I had never been in an environment or an industry like that. And so as we think about breaking these kind of chains and old habits and levels of familiarity and comfort, what does that entail, right? Is that part of what you get into with your essential guide to counseling Black women?
There's a part of me that's like, yo, LaNail, you're supposed to be talking about the book too. But right now, and I just like, you keep saying these things and I'm like, oh, yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes. All right. The answer is yes. There's specifically a chapter in the book that is talking about breaking cycles. And one of the tips that I go into with that book is similar to what you said you did with Angela. You said her name is Angela, right? Andrea. Sorry, Andrea. But one of it is addressing our core beliefs. Core beliefs are formed in our early years, roughly between ages 0 to 7, maybe 0 to 10. In those core beliefs, think about how many evolutions of development you go through. You go from infancy to toddlerhood to early childhood to middle childhood, and then you're right on the edge of adolescence. but your brain has been forming for 10 years. Malcolm Gladwell says that we become an expert of something after 10-year cycles, right? If we practice it for 10 years, then we become an expert in that. And that's in his book, Outliers, right? So if a child who's 10 years old may not know how to be an expert in counseling, but they know themselves. They just don't know how to articulate it. For 10 years, you are absorbing information about the world and deciding what that means for you. The core beliefs are centered on what do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about other people? And what do you believe about the world in general? For some of us, in those first 10 years, we got messages that we were inadequate. Yeah. We got messages that we were worthless. We got messages that because we were a marginalized identity, even though we didn't understand that what that was, that we were less of a priority and that our experiences and our voice doesn't matter the same. And we got that message for 10 years reinforced. We got messages about who other people were, and we got messages about who the world was. It's remarkable, Eris, that it took you just 1 year to restructure these core beliefs, because it's 10 years to set the foundation, and then whatever reinforcements you have after 10 years until however old you are now. In the book, I talk about that in order to break cycles, you have to address the core beliefs. And some of us are afraid to sit in silence and think about what we really think about ourselves, because then we feel ashamed. Like, why do I think that about myself? Why do I feel this way? Right? Like, but combining what we talked about a second ago, sitting in silence, and what your experiences were, which is working with somebody who she challenged your core beliefs. You do that together, and that's how you start to break the cycles. You start to say, this is how I believe, and my God, I don't want to believe this anymore. Mm-hmm. So let me remove that belief, and I must replace it with another belief. That's a trick too. You cannot remove a belief without replacing it, because like anything that has a hole, if you remove it, it's a hole. And if you don't fill it with something else, that old stuff is going to get right back in there, and it's going to be pointless. So you have to have a replacement. So to the point that you were making when you were working with her, you were addressing those core beliefs. And I imagine you sat in silence while you were being challenged and after you were being challenged and started to think. In fact, you said, I envisioned what I wanted, right? So you start to envision what you want, and you start filling that in. And that removes those negative core beliefs and starts replacing them with other beliefs around what you can do. Then you start practicing it. And you make some mistakes, private mistakes and public mistakes, and you get some reinforcement. And that is how you increase that confidence. So that's in chapter, since we're going to talk about the book for a bit, that's in chapter 5 of the book. In fact, I just went over that section in my book. See, I'm reading the book and highlighting it. I know I read the book, but I be reading it like, ooh, that's right. That's good. But in here,
I fast that even though the title says The Essential Guide for Counseling Black Women, and I had the privilege of being able to get a sneak peek and review the book this weekend. I was like, oh my God, I've been telling everybody it's not for practitioners or counselors or psychologists alone. Like, there were prompts in there that I'm like, okay, it was asking me to question my views on tradition and how I show up in roles and the breaking generational cycles. It is a book for everyone, right? And I just want to make sure that folks understand you do not need to be in this field in order to benefit and take away. And honestly, I've even told folks that I think it transfers beyond Black women. I was thinking about, my man, I was like, he could benefit from this book. I think about other people that I work with who are not, like, who would have the same types of questions. And so I just wanted to plug that real fast because people should know.
I appreciate that, Eris. And so this is just a plug around publishing, I guess, because I'm sure there's some people that are listening right now and you have wonderful life stories and wonderful experiences and wonderful careers and things, and you want to write a book, right? When you work with publishers, there's certain things that you have to fit within criteria. And so the book was actually titled The Essential Guide for Counseling Black Women, for clinicians and for Black women, right? But that subtitle couldn't fit because it was going to make the whole thing too long. So I had to sit and contend with what I think would work. And I kept the title, The Counseling Black Women, because although that sounds like it's just for clinicians, there's many, many, many more Black women who are engaging in therapy now. And so they will see counseling Black women, and ideally they will be drawn to the book as well. Like, oh, there's a book for counselors who are working with people like me. But the book is very much, when I was writing the book, I had 2 to 3 main audiences in mind. I was thinking about Black women, what we're going through, who we are, what the historical connections are. We are in a springboard moment. So even though we talked about the statistics of Black women who are currently unemployed, we are also positively skewed in a disproportionate way, but we are getting more education than other races and genders. We're advancing economically than other races and genders. We're traveling more, and these are within demographic groups. So the book is for everyone. So that's one population. It's for Black women, but it's also for the clinicians, because as many of us as Black women are starting to engage in therapy or coaching or any type of development transformation that's connected to health, all the clinicians don't know how to work with us. We're nuanced in a lot of ways. And us, for this book, it's the intersection of a Black woman. But this isn't going to be my last book, right? But to your point, there's many intersections. So one of my Latinas can read this book and say, oh, I see myself in this. These are some of the same similarities around breaking generational cycles in my family. You know, I'm Salvadorian, and I'm not Black American, but I do see some similarities here. Or working with emotions. You know, I may have a white Jewish man who is like, my God, I couldn't express my emotions either, right? Because it's going to be offensive to the religion. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely. Like, this is an opportunity for everybody to read this book. And because it's about humans, it's about people, you're going to find something that you relate to. So yeah, the title sounds a little bit more limiting than I wish it could. And that's more so because of some of the parameters around publication. But for that, and thank you for bringing that up, Eris, because of that, you know, we're also doing these different types of talks where I'm saying, hey, pick up the book, consider these things, because there's universal language in there, like core beliefs, right? Like who taught you how to believe this way? Who taught you that you shouldn't be confident? Who taught you that you shouldn't be around people who support you? I remember growing up and some of the conversations that I would hear people talking about is, you know, this whole crabs in a barrel kind of situation, right? Like, don't let everybody know your business because then they're going to try to take your ideas. Well, that's not supportive, and that's not reinforcing where I'm trying to go with my competence and my confidence. So do I suppress who I am, or do I change who I'm around? Maybe I don't need to be in this barrel because it's crabs over here. Maybe I need to be in this barrel where there's eagles over there. You know what I'm saying?
When they flying, baby, when they flying.
Let's fly instead of pulling each other down. So how do we change our environment? And I think that helps in building confidence. Some people can't have confidence if they're in an environment where everybody is trying to break them down.
That's right. Oh my God. Okay. So we're coming up on the end.
Don't do it, Eris.
That's what I want to talk about. But that is an excellent segue, because we've been talking a lot about this from kind of like a personal, interpersonal perspective. And with that, you know, the crabs in the barrel versus soaring with the eagles, it's all about, I think, to that, right, who your network is. And again, we started at the top around environment, right? The environment that you're in, the culture that you are embedded in. And so I want to look at this a bit. Let me tell you, you were an absolute fan favorite. I'm not even gonna lie, fan favorite. We had the privilege of bringing you in to talk about psychological safety in this other world that I delve in. And I'm not gonna talk about it here, but I mean, phenomenal. Everyone in that room was like, "This is amazing. We want more of her." And and so again, it's like you have so many different lens and perspectives that you bring, because you also work with organizations, you work with companies, you work with businesses around how they essentially put structure and practices and policies and things in place to make their organizations be cultures that,
Yes.
to me, that improve confidence and competency, which ultimately leads to greater performance and retention and profit. So when we talk about this work, or not this work, but we talk about this subject, right? Putting that lens on, if I'm a leader and I'm running an organization, I'm in HR, I'm in operations, right? What are some things that I should be doing or considering to make sure that I'm supporting the building confidence and uplifting confidence within my team and my staff?
Mm. You know, Aries, I really enjoyed that time that I was able to spend with that organization. And I think it was a couple of iterations of that we were able to be in shared space. And one of the things that I want to connect with what I said earlier is that people need to be able to make a mistake and
Yes.
not experience um detrimental consequences for it. They need to be able to learn. So we, in those spaces, we were talking about psychological safety, and there's 4 tenets to psychological safety. It is to make sure that your team feels included, your team members feel included. It's to make sure that your team members are in a position of learning. Learning includes making mistakes. We don't learn through perfection. In
That's right.
fact, perfection can't even happen without some mistakes that are there. You have to make a mistake in order to get better. And also, side note, perfection doesn't actually exist.
And what is perfection?
Yeah,
That's
it's really the completion of something, right? It does, like, it's closing a circle is what it is. That is what perfection should be, and is, rather. But people need to be able to feel included. They need to be able to learn, which includes making mistakes and being able to be positively reinforced in the lessons that they have learned. So when we correct our staff member who has made a mistake, we have to use language that is constructive, which means to build. We construct houses, right? We construct people. Like, you got to build it up, not use negative language to tear them down. Tearing people down does not make them stronger. I know that a whole lot of the older folks in the older generations thinks that it does, but it really does. It really does not. Okay.
That's right.
So we have to make sure people feel included. We have to make sure that they're in positions where they can learn and be positively reinforced. We have to make sure that they are in positions where they can contribute. And for some people, like we talked about a second ago, if you come from a marginalized identity, for whatever your identity is, if it feels like it's outside of the margins, you haven't always been reinforced to be able to share your thoughts, right? You have been instead told that your voice doesn't matter as much, or your presence doesn't matter as much. And so for leaders, you have to actually pull your staff member in and ask them to contribute. Hey, Eris, what are your thoughts on this? Hey, LaNail, what are your thoughts on this? Hey, Megan, how would you do this differently? You know, hey, Grace, what would you say in this particular situation, right? You have to pull them in by calling them out by name. And sometimes that means you give them a heads up. Eris, at the 2 o'clock meeting today, I'm going to ask you a question around such and such. Just be ready. So that way you don't cause your person to feel anxious at work or feel like they're on the spot. You give them a little time to research and to come up with a good thought, so that when they do contribute, they do get that reinforcement that they need, not just from you as their leader, but also from the colleagues that are in that meeting with you all. And then the last thing is they need to be able to challenge. You need to be able to, you as the leader, need to be okay when your staff member disagrees with something that you say. It doesn't mean you're a bad leader. Remember what I said almost an hour ago. I was standing in front of my soldiers as a 21-year-old, 22-year-old, knowing that I was in charge of I was making the decision around what was going to happen to their life. And I said, I can't do this without you. Tell me teach me, show me where I need to grow and where I need to learn. I welcome their challenges, right? Because I knew that their intention was to make me better, not to make me feel bad and insecure. Somebody in the comments talked about, everybody doesn't want to receive your confidence. And it's true. But if you are the leader, then you need to be thinking, where are your insecurities? In that when a person challenges you, you feel that they're attacking you. That's your personal work. That's your coaching that you have to do as a leader. That's your training you have to get as a leader, so that when your staff members challenges you, you know that it doesn't mean you're a bad leader. It means that they're helping you think outside the box of your own thoughts, right? So if you are a leader and your goal is to build confidence in your client, in your staff members, make sure that they're included in the meetings, in the emails, in the conversations. Make sure that, they have an opportunity to learn with you and from you, including the mistakes that they have, and they get reinforced for the things that they are doing well. Make sure that they're contributing to the conversations. And that's in a different step. Including and contributing are a couple steps away from each other, right? So you don't have to contribute right away, but you need to be included right away. And then you check yourself and make sure that you're okay when they challenge you, because they're challenging you and they're growing, but they're also helping you to grow too.
Like that. And I mean, when you really think about, you said those were kind of like the core tenets of psychological safety. I feel like those are the core tenets of confidence. I mean,
yes.
Hello.
To
be included, when I have an opportunity to provide that feedback, when I'm learning and I'm being built up because I've had the practice and the exposure, I mean, then I'm confident, I'm ready to show up. And when I think about the opportunities professionally and or with clients, whoever I've worked with, where I felt the most confident, it was really having those kind of underlying experiences and factors. And that's what leads to me to retention. And it leads to more profitability, and it leads to growth. So
because what do the folks say? They say that people don't leave a job, they leave their leader, right? They leave their boss. And so if you are a supervisor who's building confidence in people, they want to stay. They want to stay because you make them feel good. They want to stay because they can learn under you. They want to stay because they are getting fed in different kind of ways. And when a person respects you and wants to stay with you, they're going to work to make sure that you get what you need. And that is where productivity comes in. That is where we see increase in sales. That's where we see lower rates of turnover, right? And higher rates of retention, which means you're not losing money having to hire new people, because that is hiring is costly. So
I say that all the time to my HR colleagues is, oftentimes we think those in human resource are not on the profit driving side of a company. And I go, actually, you are. Right? I mean, every new hire can be between $12,000 to $60,000 per person. And so when you start adding that in, and please, I mean, and you have to get them up to speed, and it becomes disruptive to production. It's a lot. So
what happens if you're able to retain people? How much money does the company save? You know what I mean? And that means if it costs $60,000 to bring on a new staff member, maybe that the company and the leaders need to instead invest $10,000 and making sure that leadership is trained so that they're creating psychological safety. That saves the company $50,000.
And that's not a plug, but it is a plug.
It's a plug.
It's a plug.
Hello?
You can hire some folks to come in and help you put some systems and policies and trainings in place.
Wink,
so
wink.
That sounds like an excellent way to close out, because I want to ask two final questions, Dr. Plummer, LaNail R. One, you said your book is coming out in 2 weeks or less. So where do people go to purchase your book, not just for themselves, but for their mama and their cousin and their auntie and everybody else?
And their therapist, because you can absolutely buy this book and give it to your therapist and your coach and your friends and all the things. So the book is The Essential Guide for Counseling Black Women. It is in hard copy. It is on Audible. and it is also on Kindle, and it can be found everywhere you buy and listen to books. So that's, Amazon, that's Barnes and Noble, that's Norton itself, that's a lot of your independent bookstores. For Audible, or for audio, it's on Audible, of course. And I'm excited to announce that it is also going to be on Spotify. So I'm super excited about that.
I'm a podcast, a listener type gal. So,
and to include the Spotify, we also have 2 playlists that accompany the book. So you can go into Amazon.
I'm so happy for you. My eyes are literally tearing up over here. Like, I love you so much. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. And to learn more about the book, just follow me on social media, right? I'm posting about the book often. My company's name is Onyx Therapy Group, ONYX Therapy Group. And I could be found everywhere on social media as Dr. LaNail R Plummer. So just follow me and you'll get more information, more conversations. We'll be doing lots of book tours, virtual tour, as well as in-person tour. So I could be coming to a city near you. I know I'm in Atlanta and New York in March. I'm in LA in April, in Ohio. I think I'm in Cleveland in Ohio, in April. I'll be in Martha's Vineyard in May and in August. So I'm going all over the places, Boston at some point here in the near future. So follow me, do the things. And yes, please, as a coach, definitely make the purchase and tell your other coaches about it too. It's real. I'm not kidding. Okay, Eris, I know you said I only have a couple seconds. All right. But listen, real quick, y'all. The book is so good. I promise you, you're going to enjoy it. The book has tips, applicable tips that you can use. The book has catalyst questions. If you are a coach or a clinician, these are questions that you can ask your client. But if you are a reader, these are also questions that you can ask yourself. The book has client insights where my real life clients I'm using as examples. I don't give too much information because I have to protect their privacy, and I don't need them to read it and be like, Dr. Plummer, why you put my business like this? Okay. So it's the tips, it's the catalyst questions, it's the client insights. It's also the journal prompts. The journal prompts are phenomenal, y'all. I promise you, I spent time with those journal prompts. I went over, I edited them, I did all the things to make sure that they make sense for us. In addition to that, there's tons of tables in there for different approaches that we use to solve issues in our life, right? So it's a really good, rich book, and it's only like 200 pages, right? So it's not one of these crazy textbooks or anything like that. It's something that you could read. And as you're reading, you can walk away with something. Every time you pick it up, you're going to walk away with something else. And I say that with confidence. I built it up. I built this book up.
And I was confident that this was going to be a phenomenal conversation. And I'm just saying the comments have reinforced.
Yes, they have.
That it has been. And so I just want to say thank you so much for giving your time, your expertise, because I know your hourly rate, like her hourly rate, baby.
I'm breaking generational cycles. I'm trying to set up some generational for these people.
You still take clients? Are you still?
Well, not this year. I mean, I'm on tour a lot with the book, so I can't take any more new clients, but we are a team of 44 that includes counselors and coaches and trainers. And my team is accepting new clients, and we hire based off of need. So when our wait list gets too long, that's when I start hiring again. So I never want there to be a gap in people who want therapy and can't find a therapist.
You can't find a therapist, and organizations that want good policies and practices and procedures not being able to tap into a great leader. So thank you so much. I love you. Again,
I love you too.
I think of a better way to spend Founders Day. Initially I was concerned, like, I don't want to take up your time on Founders Day, but wow.
I mean, this is the work of the founders, right? This is the work of the founders.
The words right out of my mouth. Like, this would be exactly right? What they would want to see happening. So thank you. I love you. And
Love you
I'm so
too.
glad you all found value in today's Tipsy Tuesday. Follow on Instagram, Tips on Tuesday or Eris Scales. Bye.